let's say, it doesn't have ideas on how to counter it. So what it does is it buys more guns, it buys more weaponry, and dispose them among the youth. So we have a lot. We are burying a lot of young people daily. So mazee tu ni noma huko mtaani. So hiyo story ya youth and crime ni mambo ambayo sahi tuna need a system change. Reorganizing the economy and revamping what the rich people have taken away from the youth.
Niaje wase, karibuni katika CPK TV. One more time, mimi ni host wenu Sefu Sani, na leo tunaongelea kuhusu equation ya youthman. Na tuko na youthman mmoja hapa, tunataka kuzungumza na yeye kuhusu hii equation, na of course tunatumia lugha ya youthman ambayo ni Sheng. But pia we are going to be having interpretation and mixing it with Swahili and English. And thank you so much for joining us once again on CPK TV. And without much further ado, I will let our host introduce himself, tell us who he is, where he's coming from, what is his role in the Young Communist League. Karibu sana.
Thanks, Comrade Sefu Sani, for inviting me in the CPK Bulletin. Of course, it's a pleasure attending the CPK Bulletin to address the youth matter. So I'm Brian Mathenge from the Young Communist League and the already completed Nairobi Working Committee. And my task there was organizing in Roysambu constituency, particularly the Githurai region. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Brian. And first of all, you spoke about being a member of the Young Communist League. Yeah. But more than that, we see you in the leadership of the Young Communist League. Tell us about the Young Communist League and how it has come up, and also your role, in the leadership of the Young Communist League.
Thanks. The Young Communist League is an organ of the Communist Party of Kenya, which particularly addresses the matters, pertaining young people, especially now that there is an upcoming militancy, a sprouting militancy among the young population in Kenya. And when we say about the young population, we are talking specifically about those people who in the age bracket range from 18 to 35 years. Yeah.
Thank you very much for debunking that issue. There has been a lot of, question on who is a young person, because of course we have seen, for example, in the Kenyan politics, we saw one of the former ministers who was 92 years old being appointed to the youth board, and there was another lady, I think, who was in her 70s as well. And of course that caused a bit of an uproar.
Exactly.
So thank you for debunking that issue. When we go back to the issue of the Young Communist League, we have seen that previously there was an event of the Young Communist League which took place at the YMCA. Tell us more about that event. What was it about? What were you trying to bring out, as the young communists of the Communist Party of Kenya? Of course, we saw our chairperson, Mwandawiro Mganga, in attendance, and our vice chairperson, Mr. Buka Ngesa Omole, in attendance. We saw the working committee, and of course, there was a representation from the young people of the Communist Party across the broad. So let us know about that event. What was it about, and what was it leading up to?
Thanks. Ideally, as you said previously, is that there has been an uproar in the youth, concerning how matters of the youth are addressed at the national government level and at the county government level in terms of accessing opportunities and so on. So in terms of addressing these matters that are very, very dear to the youth, we, as the Young Communist League, are trying to to have activities, events, and programs that are engaging, that are vibrant, and are engaging the young people. So the event, we had an event that was in the I think last month. It was to address matters of the youth and bringing together the cells that are that are part of the Young Communist League, to try and analyze the position of the youth, and to chart a way forward, especially in the 2022 elections, and agree on what roles we shall be playing as the Young Communist League. The event was graced by also guests from the international community. We had some representatives from the Communist Party of India, Marxist. We also had the presence of the Venezuela government. So it was a very engaging event.
Wow, I feel like the Young Communist League is really revolutionizing and working towards the liberation. You've spoken about the study circles, that most of the young people who came from this event were from the study circles of the Communist Party of Kenya. And previously, even on the CPK Bulletin, we've spoken a lot about, the study circles and their role. Kindly let us know about the role of political education for the young people, and especially for the upcoming people. Who are the people who are going to take leadership in the party and lead the party moving forward?
That's a good question. The basic units in organizing the party basically are the cells. And as the Young Communist League, we have held to that principle and the Marxist doctrine of study. And because we are students of Lenin, we insist that there can be no revolutionary movement without a revolutionary theory. And we keep insisting that the duty, the principle, the primary duty of the Young Communist League and the youth in general is learn. And that is what he expresses even in the tasks of the Young Communist League. And so apart from learning, it is to learn communism and of course practice communism. So that is why we are organized in cells. We have cells from different places in the country, and now we are trying to organize the party organizations or YCL organizations in the different sectors of the country in a constituency level, which which I can report that we are doing good. We have currently established a lot of party organizations in very many counties, including the Western Sphere, and now heading to the Coastal Sphere. Yeah. Wow.
And I think this is very, very good, and it's very revolutionary for the young people. And also, as we dissect further, you've spoken about there can be no revolution without a revolutionary theory.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Young Communist League taking steps, further to start a school, which is known as the Walter Rodney School, where you have different members, coming in and getting to learn, apart from just having the study circles. Tell us about this big step taken by the Young Communist League to even form the Walter Rodney School. Who are the people who have been involved, and what does it entail? Tell us about the intricacies of the Walter Rodney School.
It's interesting that you know about the Walter Rodney School. And the Walter Rodney School is an initiative by the Young Communist League, which was discussed at the leadership level. And it was agreed within them that there is actually an important need for us to induct members, because as you said, revolutionary theory and revolutionary movement. And the principal task of the youth is to study. So we realized that the Young Communist League in different parts of the world were inspired by a certain form of militancy. This militancy, if not guided properly, would lead a lot of these Young Communist Leagues into anarchy, into anarchy, that they were not well organized as a party organ. So we found it very prudent for us to have a school within the Young Communist League that trains on political actions and political militancy going forward. And as you join so you start with the Walter Rodney School, then you are inducted as a member of the Young Communist League to create quality membership.
I think it's absolutely amazing what you guys have done in the Young Communist League, and even with the Walter Rodney School. And of course, we hope that even the Walter Rodney School can become international, where we have international people or people from other countries, coming in. And of course, one of the pillars of socialism that we thrive on is international solidarity, also, which goes with our anthem of the international.
Thank you.
Now, speaking about the young people and the demographic, you've spoken about young people being people who are between the ages of 18 to 35 years old, meaning now this is a definition we're having of young people based on their age. We have seen that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC,
yes.
rolled out a voter registration campaign,
yeah.
which I think ended sometime on November, early November.
Yeah.
But there has been a lot of outcry, especially from the Communist Party of Kenya and other parties as well, in the manner in which this campaign was rolled out. And of course, we've seen a lot of voter apathy, even in registering for these elections. When we look at the demographic of young people, we see that 59% of the voters or of the population in Kenya is young people, of course, which also includes young men and women, people with disabilities, etc. But we have not seen a lot of these young people coming out to register as voters. Why do you think there's a lot of voter apathy among the youth who form the largest demographic of voters in the country?
Just a few days ago, one commissioner from the IEBC came out, to admit that it's true there has been voter apathy. Because, as you said, a lot of young people, even where I come from, have not registered as voters. Those who registered last time, those who voted last time, of course, have different views on, on participating in elections in 2022. If we look back, there have been conversations all year long when we have elections that every person who is vying for a political position has the youth agenda in their manifesto. But going to the office when they hold offices or pick offices, they forget that they had the agenda of the youth. So for various reasons, the youth have been sidelined in decision making and also in access of opportunities. Because for instance, the Jubilee government, once it was coming to government, promised people that will provide 500 jobs in the first run.
500,000.
Yeah, it is 500,000. Yeah, 500 jobs in the first run. The second run, they came and promised people that we'll give. We have added now. We have multiplied it. So we'll give 1 million jobs. So it was as such, and that is how it is. Even for those who are vying, even in the other office, in the other political offices. But what happens is that unemployment, the rates of unemployment have actually gone up. They have actually risen. So there has to be that voter apathy, and we are continuing to urge the young people that it is time, with of course right political instruments, to pick these opportunities and give the youth what they deserve. Because currently there has been no government, there has been no person who has been able to bring forth the agendas of the young people.
So can we say that the young people have voter apathy because they feel that they are not represented in the current regime, or also their issues are not being dealt with? So because of that, they do not want to go the political way?
Yeah. What I think is that exactly, and the fact that they are not even, they are not even included in these political processes. We have not seen the IEBC come out and conduct that voter registration in that voter education in a good way. We have not seen the youth participate in processes that bring forth the agendas, even in the political realm. So with all that, and of course the distress that is going on in the youth camp and everywhere in the country, will have been a cause to the voter apathy, especially among the young people.
We've seen that in the high schools that we have in Kenya right now, there has been a lot of uprising or uproar where the students are burning the schools, and we don't know what is happening in the schools with the young people. Where do you think is the source, or what do you think is the source of the anarchy that we are facing with the young people in the secondary schools? Because these are the same people who come to form the bulk of society, who are voters. Most of the students who are uprising right now are in their 3rd or 4th year of secondary school, meaning mean they are about 17 or 18 years old. Come next year, these people are going to become voters, or they're people that we are targeting, you know, to vote or to be part of the elections. Why do you think is the source of this anarchy in the secondary schools? And does it find itself when these young people come out into the society? And how can we sort this from the root, from when these young people are starting to, you know, show or to come out with this uprising?
What can be obtained from the analysis of the current happenings in the high schools is actually frustration.
Yes.
You know, frustration with the government, frustration with the system, and you know, because if we look closely, currently in the education, you know, in the education sector, we have seen the ministry, especially when we are hit by COVID-19. You know, the system is not responsive to create mechanisms that adapt, you know, on, you know, on various occasions when we have been faced by a crisis. And now the education sector has since rolled out a lot of reforms that, you know, that they do not include those people who are leading the reforms to take place. And so what we see is frustration among the young people. And I can say it's not a question of morality, because our view on morality is closely associated with the systems that are aiding the reforms and such. So it's not a question of morality, but a question of system failures.
Okay, well, of course, which as socialists and as communists we want to reform and, you know, change the system.
Yeah.
When we are speaking about these young people, previously in the show we've spoken about the education system of CBC, of course, which has come up, and there are two ways of looking at it. There has been an uproar from some parents saying that, you know, this system did not favor everybody, and, you know, the cost of, you know, even doing the homework for the young people or whatever it entails, it is too rigorous, and it is mainly centered on the parents and not the children. But of course, there have also been praise of the CBC system and the fact that maybe if it had involved more stakeholders, it could have been much better. But more than that, especially now in the secondary schools and with the anarchy that we are seeing with the young people, we find that maybe, for example, the system of education that they are going through now, of course, is not CBC, but they are bridled with, you know, so much work. They have to be in school for extended periods of time without, you know, having to go home or no time for leisure. Do you think this is one of the reasons that is making these young people be, you know, in an uproar? And should we have a different approach to our education system, which of course gives ample time for the students to have education, but also ample time for them to have leisure, where it's not just a school curriculum where we want students to come and get A's, so they are working towards those A's, but after they come out into the society, then we do not have a full rounded up and molded person who is not just book smart, but, you know, they're able to contextualize life as a whole. Do you think there should be a change of system or in the way we handle that education system in Kenya? Yeah,
of course, there has been uproar, as you mentioned, on the transition between the former education system and the CBC. And we'll be rigid not to accept change. You know, and as you know, as communists, we are scientific that for society to develop, there must be change. But it worries us how, you know, in such a system, change happens. You know, because talking about the education system, we used to say that the former education system was a system of cramming. You know, the system of banking, you know, a lot of quantity, you know. But when we look at the results, you know, because the results should be purely on the transformation of society, or you know, making quality intellectuals, you know, quality people, people who contribute to the changing of the society. But what we have here is we are making doctors who, who are, competent, incompetent doctors who are very book smart, incompetent lawyers who are book smart, yeah. According to the CBC, that there has been a gap in that transition, because CBC equally, there are things that we can take from CBC, but what we are saying is that everyone should be involved, in coming up with a new education system, and the CBC is not accommodative, as I said before. To those who are to the people in this situation, the students themselves are not involved in bringing up or suggesting the changes that we should have in the education system, and so it ends up benefiting a few people who, of course, have interest in the education system. So that is it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. Moving away from the education system and the young people in secondary schools and going back to leadership and the representation of the youth. We've spoken about youth unemployment. Now, of course, after these young people come out of school and go into university, etc., we have spoken about youth unemployment. And during the Saba celebrations for this year, we saw the Communist Party of Kenya together with our other stakeholders and parties that they're working with, including the United Green Movement, the National Student Caucus, and the Kenya Tuitakayo movement, came out to speak out against certain issues, among them, of course, being, the issue of youth unemployment in the country. How do you think the issue of youth unemployment can be resolved for the young people in Kenya? Because it has caused a lot of depression among young people. We see a lot of gender-based violence and killings, murders amongst young people. The rate of HIV/AIDS in the demographic of young people is much higher than any other demographic. How do you think this can be resolved in this day and age in Kenya?
Yeah, it's horrible that the unemployment rates keep increasing. I was just saying that the unemployment rates from the last quarter has increased, by quite a big margin. And as you said, the Communist Party of Kenya and the Youth and the Young Communist League has been participating in also, in the various programs, that are addressing youth unemployment, and especially the campaign on petty crime. We are saying that they are inextricably connected. Unemployment and crime. And from the ghettos where we come from, a lot of young people, we are losing a lot of young people, daily, from systematic failures of the system. And I will say that what should be done is reorganize. The youth specifically should be committed. Generally the youth should be committed in reorganizing the economy. And when we are talking about the economy, we mean revamping the industries, and revamping agriculture. We should have these talks within our circles, within circles of young people, to see how we bring up people's committees and organize the sectors the sectors in the economy that the youth are the majority. Because if you are talking about labor, there is actually a lot of labor, a lot of labor that you can get from the young people who are still dormant. So the issues of crime come from there, that there is high unemployment, and the youth must survive. So you get that, the issues of petty crime increase, and what does the system do in response? It doesn't have it doesn't have those structures, or let's say it doesn't have ideas on how to counter it. So what it does is it buys more guns, it buys more weaponry, and dispose them among the youth. So we have a lot. We are burying a lot of young people daily. So mazetu ni noma huko mtaani. So hiyo story ya youth and crime ni mambo ambayo sahi tuna need a system change. Reorganizing the economy. And revamping what the rich people have taken away from the youth.
tukiongea story ya noma na pia tukiingia katika kwa mtaa. Tunaona kwamba kwa mtaa kuko na a lot of police brutality kitu ya kwanza, na pia kuko na a lot of extrajudicial killings. Sisi tulikuwa tumeenda Mathare kuangalia kulikuwa na moto yenye ilitokea huko Mathare. Lakini hata tukiongea nao mayuto huko wanatuambia kuhusu kuna kijana alinionyesha valley Mathare, akaniambia hapa kuna valley ikifika usiku maboys wanaekwanga tu hapo ina row, wanasikia tu watu wakishutiwa na hakuna kitu wanaweza fanya kwa hiyo area, na hawaambiwi ni kwa nini hawa vijana wanashikwa vitu kama hizo. Hata ukiangalia kwa mtaa mimi pale nimetoka nikiona polisi na mkimbilia kwa sababu naona huyu ni mtu atanisaidia. Lakini kuna watu sasa tulikuwa tunaongea wanaona sisi tukiona polisi tunaona huyu ni adui. Unajua huyu ni mtu ambaye tunafaa kupigana naye, lakini kazi ya polisi inafaa kukua kutuprotect sisi. Unafaa ukiona polisi unajua usaidizi umekuja ama unajua mtapata security. Lakini vitu kama hivyo atuoni kama zinafanyika, especially kwa informal settlements. Unaona youthman akiona polisi it's either atahepa ama unajua atataka kupigana na polisi. Issue ya police brutality. Na pia tukiangalia issue ya Kianjokoma brothers imepelekwa tu hivi story ikakuja ikachange kafanya nini na killings mingi zimefanyika, extrajudicial killings. Hata hapa kwa party tumeona tulikuwa raided by the police the other day. Unadhani kwa nini kuko na police brutality hii yenye tumekuwa tukiongea tukidemonstrate na bado inaendelea, na si Kenya peke yake, hata ukiangalia internationally kwa international sphere. Tuliona juzi there was this a black man who alikuwa nafinyiliwa na polisi na hii movement ya I can't breathe ikaanza na many others, kwa sababu police brutality iko Kenya lakini pia iko international. Na police brutality inaenda sana na extrajudicial killings. Kwa nini hii issue haikui resolved mpaka sasa? Na tunaweza fanya nini ku resolve hii issue?
Kenya tunacheki hapo kwanza mtaani mambanga tu angani mamblaina. Ni watu tu yani mayouth wakiona hivi wanajua kuna mlaina area. Mpaka tu akiona tu hivi sanse lazima anze kujisaksua kama anaweza kuwa na kitu noma. Juu pale kwa mtaa kukuata na dread ni crime. So inakuwa tu ni noma. So what is happening is that there is a systematic failure. We saw from America that the George Floyd question and the Black Lives uprising. We went and there was that issue of Kianjokoma brothers, which set a lot of uproar. Lakini kumekuwa na a lot of reports ambazo zimekuwa generated on police killings. Tunaona huko kwa system zao wana create vitu zinaitwa police reform working group. The social movements pia huko mtaani zina deal na stories za police brutality. A lot of non-governmental organizations ziko pia na a lot of interest na police brutality. So it's it's a universal criminal gang, and what I can say is that it is very attached to capitalism. Without capitalism hatuwezi kuwa na crime. I was looking at China the other day and I was seeing that they are alleviating their people from poverty. So if we are not poor, then I don't think kuna mtu tu ataenda kuibatenje, because it is systematic, because the young people are shot because of stealing something like a phone. Just a phone. Well, Wegoro is stealing billions. And when she's arrested or the DCI wants to interrogate her, as they usually say, wanamwendeana V8. Sasa the other day the DCI tuliona court orders zikitoka zinasema the DCI kwa sababu being ukishani ni na the director of public prosecutions uko ni when is suspect of crime. So but tumeona pia the government withhold DCI na pia kumekuwa na orders ya kwamba ashikwe. So there's a very big margin between the rich and the poor. So what can be done now is, because now the youth are the most affected and the most subordinated by the system, is uprising. Is an awakening that we should have among the young people to notice that this is not ending soon. And they should join organizations. They should they should join the party, and of course the Young Communist League, so that we keep organizing against the system.
Thank you so much. Na tukiongea pia bado kuhusu police brutality, we see that there is IPOA, which was put as an oversight for such issues. Lakini hatuna kesi hata moja yenye imewahi prosecutiwa na IPOA ama wameingia na waka dissect na waka interrogate. Do you think that such organizations are just put there to, to blindfold the people and as a means also of, when such issues arise, like they're just able to say, okay, we are handling it and we've taken it so that, people can relax? Do such organizations have a role in the society, or should we just do away with them? Or what can we do so that such organizations are active when such issues are brought upon?
What I'll say is that it will be hard for them to bite when they are, to bite their masters, or to bite when their masters don't want them to bite. Yeah, because what we notice is that a lot of these killer squads are protected by, are protected by higher organs. Yeah, because what is a tall order for them right now is prosecuting officers. Yeah. And since it was formed till now, and the reports that wanna generate during, annually, unapata, they have just prosecuted or taken kesi kadhaa sana wame prosecute kesi kadhaa hapo kwa koti. And it's just horrible that they cannot deliver. But as I said before, it is systematic failures. They are of course generated by, or established under our own system. It is like a pit. Yeah, sasa hatuwezi toa a section of the pit alafu tuseme tumereform hiyo nini until tu hiyo pit yote tuiondoe. So ziko too very closely attached to capitalism, and such bodies will not be effective in such a system.
Okay.
So I think the best way is to when we get to the next government, I think is to scrap them off, because at this level they are not delivering.
Previously, the Communist Party of Kenya, of course, when it linked up with its affiliate parties, the United Green Movement and Ukweli Party, and of course the Alternative Leadership Congress, they had a press conference to speak about, the rule of law and the disobedience of court orders by the executive, and of course the return of Miguna into the country. And this has come out as well in this conversation, of course, even as you have mentioned, the DCI, who has been given court orders and he will disobey them. And when we talk about the rule of law in the country, we can see that from the top of the executive, there's a lot of disobedience of court orders and of the rule of law. But, when it comes to the young people, or what I would call, the smaller people, they are supposed to adhere, to the law and to the laws of the land, and especially to the young people who, of course, now are becoming rebellious, against the system. Do you think this rebellion that we are even seeing from the young people is something that comes from the top, and for us to resolve it, then it would mean that leadership should come from the executive? Of course, we should see them obeying the court orders, the rule of law, for it to trickle down to the young people. Is there a failure of leadership in the country that is manifesting at the lower level through the young people?
Absolutely. There is absolutely failure of leadership, complete failure of leadership. And what is interesting about it, as my vice chair always say, is that the court orders they are defying shall be the same ones that shall be used to execute them, because what they are just doing by defying court orders, especially those that touch on the poor person's issues, is just create outrage, within the society, that they are becoming popular day by day, within the society. And of course, these are very good juncture for us in organizing people and asking people to revolt more, as we create the next government.
Moving away from that, of course, the Communist Party of Kenya, and when we look at socialism and communism, thrives on fighting for the rights of the oppressed and the downtrodden in society, but especially for the working class. And because of that, then we organize a lot in informal settlements and, you know, for the working class. And yourself, you've been involved in this organizing in one of the areas in Nairobi, which is Githurai.
Yeah.
So maybe now tell us a bit about your organizing in Githurai, how it has been, what are the challenges that you're facing, what are the study circles that you've been able to come up with, the activities. Recently we saw you guys took part in tree planting or a cleaning up of Githurai River with the young people. We've seen a lot of things coming from Githurai. Tell us about that organizing in Githurai.
Great. The organizing in Githurai has been a great experience, especially in learning and social investigation, you know, of where our society lies and what we should do more. We started organizing in Githurai as a part of the party organization around a year ago. And in that year, we have managed to create party organizations with cells.
Yes.
We have the Kimathi cells, the Kimathi cell that meets on Saturday. We also have the Mau Mau cell that meets on Sunday. And we have an online Fidel Castro cell that meets every Monday. So in party organizing, we have upholded the doctrine that the party should take lead in organizing, you know, that the party should take supremacy in organizing, and especially the downtrodden class, the oppressed class. And that is what we have been doing in Githurai. And currently, with the cells, we have been mapping out and also establishing social movements, you know, that can accommodate a lot of young people. And through the process of learning and practice, you know, they find their way to the party, you know, so as a way of recruiting members in the party. So we have been engaged in activities like organizing tournaments, of course, drawing murals that, express what we do as a party. And, we have been also leading the social movements there, like the cleanup that we organized, so that we can have different chances of talking to the people and to the masses, and of course selling, our ideologies to the masses, because they are. And what we have realized is that our agendas and our ideologies are acceptable by the masses. So as we create more party organizations, we are hopeful that in the next election maybe we can come up with an aspirant and take offices in different parts of the constituency.
And also maybe you could become an aspirant. I think being an organizer, it's good for you to take up the leadership. Yeah. And of course, when we looked at the cleanup of Githurai River, we have seen even a group coming from Githurai known as the Green Jewel, of course, which focuses on the environment and ecological justice. What is the role of young people in ecological and climate justice? Yeah.
So as communists and young people, especially from the Young Communist League, we uphold that the ecological to reach to ecological justice goes hand in hand, with the revolutionary thought of communism, because once we talk about ecological degradation and environmental degradation, is something that is closely attached to the failures of capitalism, because of some greed of some people, the greed of some rich people there, and currently we have seen various uproars from the COP26, various demonstrations have been organized, because ecological justice is something that has to reach ecological justice. We must come up with mechanisms. We must come up with systems that accommodate the environment. And when we talk about pollution, pollution is holy, and it is accelerated by by a few greedy rich who think that, who produce even what is not needed, in such system. So we get there is a lot of overproduction, and when there is overproduction, there's a lot of pollution, because it is a system of profits. And it is a system of people who want to reap a lot of profits from their production, and thus they never care about the environment or human life or any other life in the planet. So we have been also engaged in activities like the demonstrations, tree planting, with the social organizations around the Gatharaine River, which drains through our constituency, and of course bringing up all these groups that are dealing with ecological justice, to give them direction, on what should be done as the young people, and to contribute towards achieving climate justice.
What is the central role of human rights in fostering an environment, an enabling environment for youth in the context of agriculture and food systems?
Food security is key, and we don't have a generation if we don't have food security. And currently what is happening is that we have a lot of chronic conditions, that are caused by food insecurities. There is there are high rates of those people who are getting cancer, and treating cancer becomes also very expensive. Actually, it leaves a lot of people poor. So it also contributes, to the healthcare crisis and poverty. So I think now is the time for us to come up with structures that create healthy foods, and of course attach the struggle, because the struggle, what has been done currently is that people have separated the struggle in different factions. That those in the health sector do not realize that it is connected with, of course, environmental degradation that is, of course, attached to overproduction. So what is our role currently is to link up all these struggles and come up with a mechanism that of course fosters food security and engages more young people in the industry, and thus changing the status of our economy. So it is a call out to the young people to participate in these organizations and activities.
And Brian, we've seen you involved in the working group committee, of course, of the Communist Party of Kenya. And you came out to be very good in communications during the Young Communist League. We saw you emceeing and leading in that process. Yeah. But also there was a music project that you came up with in the working committee. Tell us about your experience in the working committee and all those facets.
My experience in the working committee was interesting. Yes. It was a chance for us to learn. Personally, in the working committee, I came across a lot of people that, a lot of theory and a lot of experiences that shaped up my organizing skills. And currently, I can do a lot of things, through being equipped in the working committee, and of course participating in various sections of organizing within the working committee in the city. Also in the working committee we have we had several outreach events in various counties from the city, and that one gave us experiences on how organizing is in the other spheres, in the rural spheres, and how it is different in the urban in the urban organizing, how peasants take, what is the role of the peasants and the contribution of the workers, the contributions of intellectuals, and how they should be organized within the party. So it was a very interesting experience.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
This morning, can I remember? But I had coffee. I can remember I had coffee and bread. Okay. Yeah, I had coffee and bread.
Oh no, that was just to break the ice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, what message do you have to?
I thought it was something related to food security.
It is actually, like, the fact that you actually had a meal is a good. Is a good thing. Yeah. One of the icons that we have, Thomas Sankara, usually says that if you want to know politics, you look at your plate, because that is where the politics starts, with your food. You know, your politics has started there with the bread and tea that you had in the morning, or that someone else did not have waking up. What is your message to the young people and from the Young Communist League as part of the leadership that you would want to give to our viewers today with that camera?
Okay. I think I should have started by the icebreaker, because because now that is the condition of the young workers. Yeah, a lot of them cannot afford breakfasts, and some cannot afford a healthy breakfast like myself. So to the young people, these are our conditions. Yeah, mazee, kwanza pale getu kila saa watu wanauliwa, hatuna majob, kila watu wamekalia mawe. Yeah, we cannot afford a decent meal. We can hardly afford clothing. You know, we can hardly take our girlfriends out. So it becomes, it becomes a crisis. You know, and an economic crisis. Yeah, the kind of going to look for jobs. Tunaambiwa lazima tukue tumeenda universities. We have CV and such things. And even affording university education is a crisis itself. So we are forced, into crime and such. So one is that we must, of course, be very clear on crime, that, to stop petty crime. Here in the Communist Party of Kenya, we say to stop petty crime, we want jobs. To stop petty crime, we want a life with dignity. And to bring life with dignity, we need socialism. So what I urge you is that it is time for us now to take up these positions, of course, and participate in the election. And very important is for us to join the Young Communist League and the Communist Party of Kenya so that we can take part in political organizing. Viva!
Thank you very much, Brian Mathenge. It was an honor having you on the CPK TV and, of course, discussing the youth equation. And to you, our viewers, we thank you very much for keeping tuned to CPK TV. And I will leave you with an excerpt from our September issue of Itikadi, of course, which is available for 500 shillings and 1,000 shillings if you're giving us solidarity. This is page 20 of Itikadi. In the story, Kenyans must think and elect leaders from outside the box to achieve greater democracy in the 2022 elections by Mwandawiro Mganga. And it says, getting yourself out of the box is asserting your humanity. It is remembering that you are a human being, an independent, conscious, creative, social being. For to be a communist is the highest attribute of a human being. Thank you very much for joining us. Until next time, Viva!